To explore ACT and just get on the same page in regards to terminology, we're just going to start at the top left corner at the title bar. As you can see, it says ACT by Sage 2006, which is what it'll always say, and then the name of the database that we're on. So if for some reason you have more than one database, this is where you can quickly determine which database you're on in ACT. Now, let's take a look at this File menu. If I click on File, we'll see that a menu opens up below it. So that's called the File menu. Now, it's part of the menu bar. This whole area is menu bar, and as you can see, each one has a menu. As I go across, each one of these menus will open up once I've clicked on one. Now, the menu bar also has information about the database. For example, we've already seen that we have 132 total records in this database, and that we are on record 30 of the database. In addition to that, we have other controls, and we're going to be talking about all these different controls that are in the menu bar. But from now on, when I say go to the menu bar and go to the blank menu, you'll know how to do that. In other words, if I say go to the menu bar and go to the lookup menu, you'll know, okay, well, I'm going to go up here to this menu bar and I'm going to click on lookup. So that as we go through this training together, you'll know how to use these tools. Now, the menu bar also contains many icons, and some of the icons are exactly what you would think they would be. For example, this big telephone is actually to schedule a call. But some of them are not as intuitive, and as you can see, if I position my mouse pointer over them, then what they are pops up in just a second or two. So this is called a tooltip, and you can quickly learn about what something will do for you in ACT using these tooltips, what these icons will do for you. For example, if I position my mouse pointer over this globe, it says display a map, and we'll look at that later on as how we can display maps and directions to contacts. ACT really has some nice features, and ACT 2006 has some nicer features than even previous versions did. All of this information up at the top, though, is referred to as the what? As the menu bar. So that's the menu bar. Then, right here it says contact detail. Well, does it always say contact detail? No, it says contact detail because that is the view that we're in right now. Well, how do we get to a different view? Well, we could click on contact list up here in the menu bar. And if I click on contact list in the menu bar, then I'll quickly be switched to a contact list view. As you can see, a contact list view is totally different than a contact detail view. Now, in my contact list view, I have right now listed in alphabetical order all of the companies. But one of the things that we can do with a contact list is we can arrange it in any way that we want. And we'll take a closer look at how this could be an advantage to us later on. But I'm going to just scroll up to the top, and let's say that we wanted this arranged instead of by company name in alphabetical order. Let's say I wanted it arranged by, say, phone numbers. I can click on phone and the list is rearranged. Now, depending on what I want to do, depending on what I'm prospecting or how I want to prospect, then this could be a great tool, just being able to arrange this list. Right now we're just focusing on the different views. Now, if I wanted to go back to context view, I could click right here in the menu bar, or I could also go over to this section. Now, this section over at the far left of the screen used to be called the View menu or the View bar. Now it's called the Navigation bar with ACT 2006. But if we click on Contacts in the Navigation bar, you'll see that we just go back to the Contacts view, back to the Contact Detail view. But we have other options here. We can click on Groups, If we click on groups, then what we're doing is we're taking advantage of the fact that ACT allows us to set up groups of employees, or in other words, to group companies and to group contacts into larger organizations that we can control. In other words, if we need to change the name of a company, or we need to change the address because a change happened with the whole company, instead of having to make that change for each contact, we can make that change for the group or for the company. And later on we'll be talking about the difference between working with groups and working with companies. We also have a calendar view. If we click on calendar, you'll see that it opens up a calendar and then shows what our activities are that are on the calendar. In addition, we have a task list view. And the task list view allows us to see all of the tasks that we have regardless of which contact they're with. We'll talk later on about the advantages of using the task list view if you're task oriented. If you're task oriented versus being calendar oriented, or versus being just working with certain companies, then it's better to use the task list view rather than possibly to use the calendar. But we've got all these different tools that we can use with ACT. We also have opportunity lists. When we set up sales calls, we set up sales opportunities, we can use this list. We have email, we have internet services. So these are all the different views, or all the different parts of the navigation bar that allow us to quickly use the system. I'm going to go back to context detail view for just a second, and you'll notice then that we also have all of these other tabs down here at the bottom. In other words, we're not seeing it all yet. So in our next section, we're going to take a look at what are called the layout tabs. That's next.